Psalm 88. Lord, you are the God who saves me. Day and night I cry out to you. May my prayer come before you. Turn your ear to my cry. I am overwhelmed with troubles and my life draws near to death. I am counted among those who go down to the pit. I am like one without strength. I am set apart with the dead, like the slain who lie in the grave, whom you remember no more, who are cut off from your care. You have put me in the lowest pit, in the darkest depths. Your wrath lies heavily on me. You have overwhelmed me with all your waves. You have taken from me my closest friends and have made me repulsive to them. I am confined and cannot escape. My eyes are dim with grief. I call to you, Lord, every day. I spread out my hands to you. Do not show your wonders to the dead. Do their spirits rise up and praise you? Is your love declared in the grave, your faithfulness in destruction? Are your wonders known in the place of darkness, or your righteous deeds in the land of oblivion? But I cry to you for help, Lord. In the morning my prayer comes before you. Why, Lord, do you reject me and hide your face from me? From my youth I have suffered and been close to death. I have borne your terrors and am in despair. Your wrath has swept over me. Your terrors have destroyed me. All day long they surround me like a flood. They have completely engulfed me. You have taken from me friend and neighbour. Darkness is my closest friend.
What a psalm, eh? What a bit of a depressing kind of thing to read. And I didn't intentionally line up for Mother's Day. It's just the way it worked. Hopefully there's some hope in there. We'll get there in a moment. Before we get there, I just want to say, as a church, lately we've been praying and planning and thinking about the future, thinking about the opportunity or possibility of growing our staff team. We've been looking at kind of internal pledging. Many people have pledged towards this. It's been really encouraging. As well as that, I've been saying that I need to kind of ask people outside the church to see if they want to support us in this. And I've been talking about it for ages, but this week I just started trying to do it. And tell you what, the difference between talking about it and actually doing it, as is with many things. Sit down to write that email, right? What do you say? Hi, I'm Murray from St Hilda's, Katoomba. Would you like to give us tens of thousands of dollars, please? Best regards. No, that's not quite what I wrote, but like it's a strange thing to do, to front up to these people. I mean, I know some, I don't know some, but I wrote and I rewrote and I reworded and thought about it and thought, how's my tone? How am I coming across here? I want to be, sell vision but not undersell it. And, it's all a bit more nerve-wracking than you'd kind of expect. But I wonder if you might have had a similar situation, you've got a big conversation that you're thinking about, or a letter to write, or a resume, or a job interview, just that you're preparing for. You want to get it right. I mean, the movie cliche is the guy who's kind of getting ready to say hi to the girl that he likes, or ask her out, and he's practicing in the mirror and gets it wrong when it comes to the moment. It's hard, right? The communication's hard. Getting the tone right is difficult. Thinking about how we're coming across to someone else is tricky. And it's even harder when there's emotion involved, when the stakes are high. We come from different backgrounds, different cultures. We use emotion differently. We talk about things in different ways. This impacts our communication, our workplaces, our families, our church, and even in some ways how we communicate and think about engaging with God, right? Thinking about communication, emotion. Now, why are we talking about these things? Where am I going? Well, we're in this series on hope over these few weeks. And particularly during these few weeks, we've got a slight angle, thinking about things through the lens of mental health difficulties and struggles. It's been a bit of an angle we've taken, partly because we just don't talk about it very much, but it's such a big part of our life in all kinds of ways in our church and our community. And now, of course, we're not just limiting it to thinking about mental health challenges. In this series, we want to think about ourselves as kind of integrated, whole human beings, not kind of splitting off physical and mental and emotional and spiritual. But we're humans, created by God in his image, living in the brokenness of the world. And last week we thought about our bodies, our hope for our bodies, our humanity. This week we're kind of going into this world of feelings and emotion, how we think about them, how we think about them Christianly, how this impacts our communication and approach, and our engagement even with God. And it's important, right, because this world, our feelings, our emotions, our internal world, is a real battleground at times, isn't it? A real battleground in our mental health struggles, whether we have a particular condition or not, or if we're doing well or poorly. However we're going, this can be a real battleground for us, and it can flow out into our relationships and our communication and into our faith. And often we don't know what to do with them. We get mixed messages. Last week we saw mixed messages about our bodies. This week, well, we get mixed messages too about our internal world, our feelings, our emotions. In some ways, the world tells us, right, look, if this feels right, what could be wrong about it? How you feel is who you are. That's your identity. Embrace that. Get that language coming across because more clearly in the world of gender identity, of sexual expression. If it feels right, go for it. On the other hand, our world still does draw lines and says this is okay, this is not okay. Some sexual desires are still seen as wrong. There are some ways that we see feelings and emotions as broken. The example I thought of was someone with a eating disorder, and what they see in the mirror is different to what everyone else sees, and the feelings and the emotions we know they're broken in some sense. So what is it? Our feelings define us, or they're broken, and then we think about how we express ourselves and express these things that are inside us. Do we let it out? Do we not? I mean, many of us come from, an Anglo-British background, which, you're raised to not make a fuss, don't make a scene, keep it together, didn't cry at the funeral, well done. And that's just so alien to people who've been raised in a more expressive culture, for example. And so, what's right? What's wrong? What are we meant to do? And you throw faith into the mix, it gets more complicated still. How do you approach God as emotional beings? Are we meant to sing and dance like the African churches? Do we meant to come and sit in solemnity and silence and stillness? When we pray, how do we relate to our emotions in prayer? What are we allowed to say? What can't we say? Do we need a special tone of voice? Do I need to bring in the these and thous if talking to our Father? What do we do? And how do we process all these things inside us? Are my thoughts and feelings okay? Are they can they be sinful? And do they give me guilt? Or does God speak to me through my feelings? What is it? It's a bit of a mess. I've kind of painted a bit of a messy picture. I'm not promising to clear up all those questions. We'd be here for a while. But what I want to do is just kind of in that world of thinking about our internal things that are going inside us, in our hearts, in our minds, in our communications, in our relationship with God. What we're going to do is we're going to look at a psalm together and think some of these things through. And a psalm is a poem or a song. We've already thought in this service about how songs can really kind of help us tap into our emotional world and link it with our faith and kind of joins together our heart and our head. And so this psalm, this poem that we see that's been put in the Bible for us to read, in it we meet someone who's just going through the lowest of the lows. Physically and emotionally and spiritually, they are at rock bottom. And as we listen to them, we're going to think some of these questions through. How do we think about and express our emotions? What part do they play as we approach God? What hope do even we have when we feel most hopeless? What hope can we have at our most hopeless moments? Is hope for the hopeless? Does that even make sense? Is it possible? Last week, we're in the Bible. We're looking at. We'll get there in a moment. We're looking at someone who was the writer to the Hebrews, and they quoted a psalm. They quoted Psalm 8. And in that psalm, the guy was basking in this kind of glorious contradiction. God, you're so big and we're so small, but you love us. Isn't that amazing? What is man that you're mindful of him, the Son of Man that you care for him? That's kind of one end of the spectrum. Wow, God, you care about us, and you see us, and you know us. This psalm is the other end of the spectrum for that. It's not saying, wow, you care about man. It says, what do we do when we feel like you don't care, that you don't know us, that you've forgotten us, or even worse, you're against us? If it feels like that, where do we go? What do we do? Now, the Psalms are the songbooks of God's people, and this is a uniquely sad song, a song of the hopeless. We're going to go through it again. I want you to feel it. I want you to imagine that you are with the guy who's saying it. And it's not just that it's someone's words. These have been put here. The psalm begins, it says who it's by, and it gives some information to the psalm, which kind of makes us see this is not just a psalm for by yourself. This is something to say together and to engage with together. How do we engage with it together? We don't know much about the writer. His name's Heman the Ezrahite. It's a cool name, but we don't know much about him. We know he's not doing very well. And as he begins the psalm, he kind of knows that God is powerful. He knows that God is the one who saved him in the past, but that's not his experience at the moment. I'll read it again, bits of it. Lord, you are the God who saves me. I know that. The day and night I cry out to you. May my prayer come before you. Turn your ear to my cry. I'm overwhelmed with troubles, and my life draws near to death. I'm counted among those who go down to the pit. I am like one without strength. I am set apart with the dead, like the slain who lie in the grave, whom you remember no more, who are cut off from your care. You have put me in the lowest pit, in the darkest depths. Your wrath lies heavily on me. You have overwhelmed me with all your ways. He's saying, look, I'm as good as dead. I'm pretty close to dead, physically. You are the God who saves, but you don't remember me. It's like I'm out of your sight. I'm overwhelmed with these troubles. Often a psalm will talk about, my enemies are against me, my friends are turned against me, all these kind of things. But look who's responsible here. He says, it's you, God. You've put me here. You've put me in the lowest pit. I don't get it. And your wrath lies on me. I feel totally and utterly alone. You've taken from me my closest friends and have made me repulsive to them. I'm confined and cannot escape. My eyes are dim with grief. I call to you, Lord, every day. I spread out my hands to you. That's an image of prayer. So he knows, he feels he's been put there by God, and yet he still calls out to this God. He calls, he prays, and gets nothing. I don't understand it, God. Why would you do this? I mean, doesn't it make more sense that you kind of save me from this, and I'd praise you, and it'd be great? What good am I to you, dead and cut off? He makes this argument to God. Do you show your wonders to the dead? Do their spirits rise up and praise you? Is your love declared in the grave, your faithfulness in destruction? Are your wonders known in the place of darkness, or your righteous deeds in the land of oblivion? I don't get it. It makes no sense. Now, the book of Psalms has many psalms kind of start like this, people in the depths of despair and the lowest of the lows. And usually at this point in the psalm, they kind of get some perspective. They say, all right, but I remembered what you've done in the past. I've seen your goodness and your power. There is the darkness, but in the morning is hope and rescue, and the goodness of God will look after me. That's often how these psalms kind of wrap up, with this glimmer of hope. But this psalm is different. It doesn't happen that way. But I cry to you for help, Lord. In the morning my prayer comes before you. Why, Lord, do you reject me and hide your face from me? From my youth I have suffered and been close to death. I have borne your terrors and am in despair. Your wrath has swept over me. Your terrors have destroyed me. All day long they have surrounded me like a flood. They have completely engulfed me. You have taken from me friend and neighbor. Darkness is my closest friend. You've taken from me friend and neighbor. Darkness is my closest friend. And that's it. That's the end of the poem, the song. No glimmer of hope with the morning. The psalm ends in the dark. I wonder what you felt as we read that together. as we saw those words, as we think about those words being kind of applied to God, given to God. I mean, you might think, look, I don't really get it. What's got this guy so down? Some of you might go, yep, I've been there before. I've had those words before. I've had those feelings. Others might say, well, yep, that's actually where I'm at. That's where I'm at now. What do we do with this? What do we do with this song that just tracks the lowest of the lows and looks like they're left without hope? Well, I want to talk about just three things as we reflect on this. It gives us a window into a few different realities of life in this broken world. We're going to think about what it is doing, this lament, thinking about this kind of invitation, permission, and words to lament for ourselves. We'll think about how this gives us a little window into maybe not what we're going through, but what someone else is. And we'll think finally about how this kind of gives us a glimpse into what Jesus went through, and is there hope even in this moments of hopelessness. So firstly, we have this thing. We call it a lament. It's this heartfelt pouring out of pain and sorrow. It's this questioning, why? And he doesn't hold back, does he? He doesn't kind of like sugarcoat it and say, I'm doing fine, but it could be better. No, it's unfiltered. We talked at the beginning about composing that email or preparing that speech or that conversation and, curate the image of yourself to get what you want, and you kind of filter a bit. There's none of that here. Here's my heart, God. Here's my pain. And remember, he says, it's you, God, who's done this to me. You've put me here. You're in control, and I'm here. It must be like, why? I don't understand. And again, remember, this is not just someone's individual suffering. This is in the songbook of God's people saying, say these things together. Think about these things together. And so we're included in this invitation to have these words ourselves. We're called to. You don't have to filter your emotions before God. Don't put on a pious, praying voice. Don't just shut up and put up with your fate. No, we're invited and we're allowed and we're called to have these words too as we come to God. God's put it in the Bible for us. He can handle it. And I think here's the key thing that he's doing here. This is what's happening, which makes this a lament and not something else. This writer is coming to God with it. Keep coming back to God with it. It still sees him as Lord. You're the one who can do something. I've got all these issues and I'm bringing them to you. A key bit of lament is knowing God is still God, even if I don't understand what he's doing it. I mean, there's alternatives. There's just yelling at God as if he has got it wrong and he doesn't know what he's doing, and you're better, you're above him. That's not kind of lament. That's having a go at someone. You could turn to someone else and just list all the shortcomings that God has, all these problems. That's not lament. That's kind of complaining. And alternatively, you can just not say anything. Hold it inside. Don't bring it to God. Keep it inside. That's not lament. That's just us dealing with it ourselves, taking God out of the picture. God gives us this language and shows us how to use it. It's confronting though, isn't it? It's confronting that you're talking to God like this. You're pointing the finger at him. But can you see how it's still the right thing for this guy and for us to bring these things to God? We're called to have this kind of lament and bring it to a God who knows how to cope with it. Sometimes we think we've got to leave our emotion out of our prayer or out of our approach to God, but God knows it's there. You think of a child who's trying to hide something behind their back and you know it's there, and they're pretending it's not there. Or they're trying to pretend that they're okay and they're really upset and you can tell. It's a bit like that with God. We can't hide. He knows those feelings are there. He knows those issues are there. God knows it's there. He called us to bring it to him, the loving Father who gets it. We're allowed to ask why. We're allowed to say we don't understand. We're allowed to acknowledge God's power even if we don't know what he's doing. So this psalm gives us a window into this thing that we're allowed to do. And we're even called to do. Permission to lament, a pattern for it. I wonder if you've been bottling things up with God, holding back, or just avoiding the conversation. What would it look like for you to pray this kind of prayer to him? Even to write it down. Write down your grievance and hand it over to him, so to speak. This is important for us individually. It's important for us together. And I think what's very helpful with this, showing someone in this depths of despair, is that it helps us think about what it's like not just for us as we go through the valley, but for those with us. Maybe we haven't experienced some of these things ourselves, but someone else has. And I see that there's a danger, right? We're the gospel people. We're the good news people, aren't we? And the danger is we can get so wrapped up in the good news that we can gloss over and ignore the sufferings of life that are still there. Yes, resurrection hope is amazing. It's so good. But before new life, you pass through death, right? We live in the now, not the not yet of when every tear is wiped away. That's not there yet. And so I think as we see the language where we're told it's okay for us not to be okay, it's also okay for those with us to not be okay. Like I said, imagine as we read that you were sitting with the writer. What would you say to him as he finished his expression, his pouring out of this? What would you say? Don't worry, it'll be okay. God's got it under control. It might seem bad now, but you'll zoom out and you'll see the goodness of this in the future. God's got a purpose. He's working for your good. He's got plans to prosper you and to look after you. Now, these things might be true, right? But on the other hand, maybe they'll never see the good that they're waiting for. Maybe they'll never see things become okay. I mean, the writer already knows that God's in control. That's not the issue here. But it's not making it better to say it, really. I think the words of these Psalms, they don't describe our experience. They give us a window into those around us, what others might be going through. And Darrell was sharing about this times when, just couldn't pray but had these words. I was reading a book written by one of my college lecturers about this psalm. It's a great book on a number of psalms. And I was reading the story, and one of the stories jumped out to me. He talked about one of his students whose wife passed away without warning. She was pretty young, and as I was reading it, I remembered this because we knew the people who were involved in this story, and it was just a really horrific and tragic time. No warning, and his wife was taken from him. And it tells a story that only a few days after this happened, he was at church, and someone read this psalm, this Psalm 88. And you can imagine the building, for some it would be like, oh, that was a sad psalm. Oh, that wasn't very encouraging. But he said for him, that this psalm understood him better than anything else. And it gave him permission to be devastated. You think, do you need permission to be devastated? Well, maybe we do. Maybe we kind of think, maybe even in that moment, you get the gospel pressure to have hope. Yes, death is not the end. She's with Jesus. God is still good. Maybe we kind of feel the pressure to think that we should be thinking those things in those moments. But for him, he just said, this was God saying to me, you can be devastated. It's okay that darkness is your only friend. We don't need to sugarcoat, cover up, get to the good bit. We can grieve and lament. We can do that together. It's hard to remember. We often want to make things better because it makes us feel better. When we're talking to someone, it can be really hard just to sit and just let grief be grief and not be ready for the hope yet. It's okay to be devastated. It gives us a window, I think, this psalm into, if not us, those around us. And we do get a glimpse also, as we look at this, into how these words could be said or how they apply to Jesus. We do say that as we grieve, we don't grieve without hope. We don't always feel the hope, but we don't grieve without hope. And seeing this psalm again, thinking about it through the lens of Jesus, maybe helps us see, even eventually, if not now, we see the hope that we have, even for the hopeless. This gives us a window into the sufferings of Jesus, the death and his despair that leads to our hope. We look at Jesus, we see this moment of the man being broken so that we can be made whole. His despair for our eventual hope. And the Psalms, right, they're the songs of God's people. They're particularly the songs of God's Son. And you could read these words and you could picture them or imagine them on the lips of Jesus, couldn't you? Maybe in Golgotha, in the garden before the arrest, as he's beaten on the road to Golgotha, to the cross, on the cross itself. These words could be on his lips. I'm so close to death. My friends have deserted me. feels that you've turned your back on me, God. And on the cross, Jesus laments. He says it to God. He says, why have you forsaken me? And I think he means it as a question. Why? I don't think he fully figures it out even in that moment. He's lamenting. But in his despair at that moment, he is doing what the psalmist is doing, holding on to God despite not knowing exactly maybe how it's all going to go, what the plan is. He's holding on to God even as he is broken. And so we get kind of this window into the sufferings of Christ. And in some ways, it's a small window. It's a cloudy window. I don't think we'll ever really understand what it meant for Jesus to go to the cross. I mean, for you and I, death and decay, we kind of expect it. It's our lot in life. This is Jesus, the source of life, on the cross. We're created from dust, and to dust will return, but through Jesus, all things were created. I don't think we'll ever quite understand it, but it gives us a glimpse in this psalm what he did for us. And what we don't get in this psalm, or even at that moment, we don't get neat answers to the why questions, why we suffer, why these things go wrong, but we do see Jesus with us. Jesus who understands us, Jesus who laments with us, calls us to lament with him. So I think as we kind of hold these things together, we're at different points. We may respond to different parts of this reflection ourselves. But I think it's important for us to think about how we come to God, whether things are going well or not so well. Do we kind of have this neatened up, pretty image of ourselves that we can come to him when things are going well, but we can't if it's not? We can come if we're kind of calm, but maybe not if we're emotional. No, we can bring all this to God. Maybe you're someone, and probably I'm someone like this, is that in those moments, we just do it ourselves. Keep it in ourselves. Avoid coming to God at all. But we need to remember God made you. God made you well. You're a very good creation of God. And He knows how you're built emotionally and your feelings. He can deal with it. He's not surprised by you. I find this hugely comforting. God's not surprised by us or our thoughts or our struggle or our sin or our doubt or our uncertainty or our grief. We don't need to be the kid trying to hide the thing from mum or dad. We don't need to filter it. So perhaps what you need to do is spend some time getting real with God. He can cope with it. Much better to bring it to him than to pretend it's not there or to bottle it up. Now, it's important to say, as we've been talking through this series with this angle on mental health concerns and issues, we've got to remember that as we have these feelings and these emotions, we can bring them to God. That's totally great. That's totally fine. But also we need to remember what defines us and what doesn't define us. And remember that our emotions don't always tell us the truth about ourselves. We can bring it all to God, but they don't always tell us the truth. And so we need to keep coming back to this truth, our identity in Jesus. We are precious because he says we're precious, whether or not we feel precious. We are rescued and saved because he's rescued and saved us, not because we feel like we're doing well. One of our recent songs says we won't be formed by feelings, we'll hold fast to what is true. And we've got to know that, we're physical beings. Our emotions and our feelings, they're really impacted by our physical surroundings, by our physiology, by our mental issues and those things. And there might be times when we need medical or professional help to help us calibrate a bit our emotions and feelings to reflect reality better. Those things are important. But in all this, we can just see that it's okay not to be okay at times, to bring it to God. Perhaps this psalm might give us a bit of empathy for those that we know who are walking through dark, dark valleys. Maybe we have comfort in seeing Jesus, who's walked this path before us, walks it with us still. I often try to finish our sermons with this kind of who are we kind of encouragement. But here, what are we? We're people who are invited to lament. We're invited to do that, to put away the mask, to tell God the truth, to share the brokenness and grief of the world together. And as we walk it together, we walk this dark road, we know that God has walked it before us and lights our way. I'm going to pray to finish us off. Valerie will come and pray in a minute, I think, but I might just give us a bit of time. Just give a bit of time in the quietness of your own heart just to reflect and bring some of these things to God. And then I'll pray in a moment.